Yo, welcome to a brand new episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K Sap. And today we got a great show lined up for you guys. But when you come across the video, make sure you share it out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you turn your post notifications on so you'll know every time Simply Ball Dropping drops another hot banger. And if this is your first time coming across the channel and the platform, please hit the subscribe button. On this channel, we cover sports, hot topics, roundtable talk, and the marriage chronicles. I see everybody in the comment section. Hashtag salute. And you know what my mantra is. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. Well, today's show, man, we're going to be talking about Deion Sanders and his latest comments. Deion recently, after the UCLA game on Saturday, in his post conference, Deion said some things that a lot of people are looking at like he shouldn't have said that. Well, basically, Deion has called out the offensive lineman. Now, we already know that Shador Sanders is the most sacked quarterback in college football. And this time, Deion Sanders, stated the obvious. But if you notice, when Deion Sanders took over the team, his first meeting with the guys, he said that he was bringing his Louis. So he brought all the guys that he could in the transfer portal. A lot of kids jumped in the transfer portal. A lot of kids came through the transfer portal. But one thing Deion has always said to the kids, has always been honest and upfront with the kids, that they have to get better in the trenches. So what are the trenches? The trenches are the guys up front on the offensive line and the defensive line. Now the offensive line is not that big. They don't have a lot of girth, and they just don't protect Shador as a quarterback. Even in the victories that Colorado has, Shador has been sacked and hit and knocked down so many times. Colorado is a pass heavy offense. They haven't been able to establish the run because guys up front are not blocking. They don't generate holes for Hankerson and Edwards to get through. So it's a pass heavy offense. But like I've stated, Deion Sanders has always been fair with the kids, always talking about he's about 6 or 7 to 8 players away from really making some noise in the FSBS. So the thing about it is, Deion says some things, and after that game, Shador, he handled the press conference well. He didn't want to state the obvious. He was just saying sometimes it might be he has to get the ball out, go through his reads a little quicker, and throw the ball away and don't take so many sacks. But, Deion has always been fair in his press conferences. They asked him the questions. He answers it. I think he handles it well, through all the scrutiny that he gets from certain media outlets, slandering him and things like that. But he handles it well. But this time, calling out the offensive line, I don't think it was a good thing, in my opinion. But that offensive line might respond in a way that we don't know. But your son is the quarterback, and you're calling out the offensive line, which is the obvious. This last game against UCLA's front four on defense, that defense is, I think, rated number 3 in college, and their pass, rush is on point. And they was getting a Shador. Shador didn't have no time to do anything. Like I said, he was rushed about 22 times, sacked 6, hit 17 times, pressured 22 times. So, he had his work cut out for him on Saturday. And like Deion said at halftime, he did have to take a cortisone shot to, subdue some of the pain. But he wasn't injured. He was just, them hits was just taking a toll on him. But, Deion, he made his comments calling out the, offensive line. And on Speak for Yourself today, Shady McCoy, Acho, Joy Teller, and James Jones, they was discussing that they have an issue with Deion Sanders calling out the offensive line. and mixed feelings, mixed emotions on that. But let's take a listen to what Acho and James Jones had to say. Take a listen.
Shady, I love Prime. Obviously, you and I, we talked to him within the last month. He is active on our social medias, active messaging us, etc. I love Prime. I hate what he said there about the offensive line. Absolutely hate it. First reason I hate it is you can't call out your offensive line when your son plays quarterback, because your offensive line is supposed to protect your son who plays quarterback. And if you are telling players that are actively playing that you are looking to replace them from a human perspective, how do you expect them to take that? Like, from a human perspective, if I know that I'm on borrowed time, if the boss has told me today, yeah, we just looking to replace Acho and we gonna do it beautifully, how you think I'm gonna do the show every day until I am replaced? That's the first reason I don't love it. The second reason I do not love it, a lot of players on Colorado are playing poorly. A lot of them. The defense has been atrocious time and time again this season. The defensive coordinator has had his players out of position time and time again this season. Offensively, since the TCU game, I have not seen the same hurry up and tempo. And then even Deion Sanders is grown enough and enough of a leader to take accountability for. I saw one of these last week, James. Here's why.
Which one?
Colorado was trailing UCLA. It was 28-9. Colorado scores. They go 28-16. But Deion, why didn't you go for two? Because it should have been 28-17 in the event you get a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, that's 8, then you kick a field goal. Yeah. But instead, you just kick the extra point. Now it's a 2-touchdown game. Yeah. Now, nobody's going to talk about it because Colorado inevitably lost. Yeah. But in that moment, I was like, Deion, that was a blatant, egregious error. You have to go for 2 right then and there. Everybody has been bad at one point or another. You can't single out the offensive line, James Jones. I didn't like it at all.
I didn't mind it. Real quick, I just want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Because both of you guys are like really real passionate about the Steve Wilks. Yeah. What's the difference between Shanahan calling out Steve Wilks and Prime calling out the O-line?
You want me to answer? You got it.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so first of all, they asked the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, about that play in particular. And he said he knew he messed that call up. 16 seconds left. Why are you doing an all-out blitz? They didn't even pass the 50 yet. Yeah. That's what he said. And
you don't feel like he could have said that to Steve Wilks?
That was so obvious. Like, yeah, he answered the question correctly. How was you gonna answer that? Why are you doing all out blitz with 16 seconds left before half? That didn't make sense.
I felt like
different.
I felt like it was different ways he could have answered that question. But to get back on Prime, since Prime has walked in the building at Colorado, he has let these kids know, and he's been really honest with these kids, right? He's first team meeting. He said, "I'm bringing my luggage with me." I don't know how many kids transferred, but over 30, 40 kids transferred because they didn't like what Prime was saying. It wasn't no sugarcoating. This is what is about to happen. Through this whole course of him rebuilding Colorado, everything he's talked about was the trenches is not ready, right? That's all he's talking. This is no surprise. So when he gets asked about the offensive lineman, I coach little kids. I coach my sons, and I always say, come on, right? He messed up, come on. You ain't helping. You sorry out there. You ain't helping.
Good point.
Right? So you brought up a point about the line blocking for his son. They ain't blocking.
Wow. In this particular point, I agree with both of them. I agree with what Acho said. I mean, you're calling out an offensive line that is supposed to be protecting your son. How does that come across? And also he said, if you know you're on borrowed time, how are you going to perform until your time is up? He said in one point that everybody's been bad in one way or another this particular season. And it's true. The defensive coordinator, the defense has been bad. Like Acho said, ever since that TCU game, we haven't seen the up-tempo, the pace and the tempo from the offense. That has slowed down. And if you have up-tempo and pace, that'll slow down some of them pass rushers. But they got away from that. They slowed the game down. Now it's giving time for the defense to tee off on Shador. Also, I agree with what James Jones said. Deion has been upfront with these kids ever since he's took over. He's not sugarcoating it. He's being honest with these kids. Now, if these kids want to stay around and play for Deion, they will. But if not, they'll jump in the portal and they'll move on. But Deion has always made it abundantly clear that, he's 6 and 7, 8 players away from really, dominating college football. Now, if you get the offensive line to commit to come to Colorado, we'll see a different Colorado team in the offense. But like Acho said, the coaching staff has been poor as well. Not just the offensive line, but for Deion to call that offensive line out, like Acho said, he shouldn't have did that. But James Jones had no problem with that. But Deion, like we've always, we give Deion the praise on a lot of things, and we back Deion up on a lot of things. But this particular time, I'm saying to myself, can't have it both ways. But Deion has been honest about everything he has said to these kids. So, and then the media gets a hold of it, and we'll break it down the way we want to break it down, and we'll get something out of it, what we want to get out of it. But you guys let me know what y'all think in the comments section. Was Deion wrong for calling out the offensive line? Keep sharing the videos out. Keep supporting the channel. Keep hitting that thumbs up. Run these likes up. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap, and we're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.